Hello there, welcome to the Obi Thorn Alliance. I'm Jacob.
I'm Luke.
And in today's video we are doing our monthly recommendation for December. Really excited to do this video. If you can, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share the video. Normally we switch between who goes first. This month I'm going to go first. So I'll be doing my 3 recommendations and then Luke's going to go next. So the first recommendation I'm going to go with, normally I do TV shows, so I'm going to start off with a movie, and that's Red Notice. With The Rock, Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot, and I think the cast did a fantastic job, and funnily enough, Luke was telling me off screen that this is like the most watched Netflix movie on the streaming service. So it's pretty impressive, and I can see why. It's worthwhile movie to watch, and I think if you're a fan of The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot, I think it's well worth watching. Basically, the concept is that there's these 3 gems that need to be stolen, so the temple will open. So Ryan Reynolds is the top heist or someone that can break into things, and The Rock, being the good guy in most of his movies, is the FBI agent, and just the banter between the actors. And it's definitely a movie that if you got free time and you just feel like watching a movie instead of show, it's well worth your time. It's not the best movie, but I think it was definitely a movie that was very worth watching. It definitely has its problems. A big twist in it that I was suspicious about. Guess it kind of got me, but I was kind of suspicious. And I guess if you don't like certain endings, because it does end in a way that it's sequel bait, so if you don't like that, you might not like the movie. But hopefully they make a second one, because that's the problem with movies. They can't just stand on their own. They gotta work and try and get a second one. So that's the first recommendation. The next recommendation is Arcana League of Legends, and I would say this was probably the best animation that I watched all year, with the storyline. And I haven't played the games on the PC, but this was well worth the time with the 9 episodes, the storyline, all the characters, and we also reviewed it on the channel, so check that out as well. Gave it quite a big score. I think it's well worth watching if you're an anime fan and a fan of the games. And I think it sets up really well for season 2, and it's been announced already that there's a season 2, so there's not that wait, will it get cancelled. No, it's been confirmed that there's a season 2, so really felt like it, for someone that hadn't watched or played the games, the story captivated and I really enjoyed it. So that aspect, I would highly recommend you give it the time that it deserves. Third recommendation, just recently watched it, is True Story with Kevin Hart and Wesley Snipes, a limited series that I would highly recommend you watch. From the last property that Kevin Hart worked on was Fatherhood. Coming from this, I think this is a lot better premise, a lot better show, and I would highly recommend you give it the time that it deserves. Basically, the concept is that Kevin Hart, being a rich comedian, plays someone named Kid, who is a rich comedian. So he basically plays himself. Something happens, that events happen that do a butterfly effect that trigger the events, and then crime ensues, and then someone that's used to rich and being the good, famous person starts getting to get his hands dirty. So definitely enjoyed the 7 episodes, and I guess the ending is something that could be interpreted. Someone might not like it, because if you're goody two-shoe, you might not like how it ended. I thought it was very well done. Highly recommend watching it. And yeah, last recommendation for the year. And highly enjoyed these recommendations.
Yeah, I definitely want to give that show a watch. For me, December's about watching Christmas movies and shows, so I'm going to get around to it. But I would like to see that, and same with Red Notice. Given that I've heard so many good things about it, I think I definitely want to give that a watch. My 3 recommendations, I've gone with 3 original series, one from Netflix, one from Amazon Prime, and one on Apple TV. So starting with Netflix, we've got Big Mouth. I've talked about this before, but the latest season has came out, and if you like the previous seasons, you're just going to get more of the same. It's the same rude comedy in it. The animation's quite good. It's funny. The only thing about this season, I do think it's sadly the worst season of the lot. But if you've got through 3 or 4 seasons of Big Mouth already, you're going to give the next one a go. And it is just more of the same. I do feel like it's probably coming to an end though. It doesn't have a closed ending to the series, but I feel like the writer's probably scratching the barrel with things that they can come up with. But if it's anything like, like Family Guy, shows like that, or South Park, they keep coming up with something new and people watch it for a laugh. So it's not really about the story, it's more about how each episode makes you feel. So it could continue on. I just think that it's got a bit far-fetched, but it's still good. But, if you haven't seen any of Big Mouth before, at least give the first season a watch, because the first season is so unique and funny. It just gets a bit wilder from there. But at least give the first season a watch. My second recommendation is on Apple TV, and it is Morning Wars. So this is the 2nd season of Morning Wars. I think I've recommended season 1 sometime previously, or we've definitely done a review on it. It's a great show. The premise is, they're in a morning news show. They're massive. These are presenters on $25 million a year contracts presenting the morning news, but it surrounds one of them, Mitch Kessler, played by Steve Carell. He has committed, sexually assaulted people in the workplace, and he's now been fired because of it. And the first season follows them discovering what he's done and the repercussions, and season 2 kind of follows what has happened now and the effects of his family and the other people in the industry, and coronavirus, which is kind of cool that it focused heavily on coronavirus, but the very early beginnings of not knowing what it was, whether the news should report on it, whether it's important or not, and then obviously we know how it ends with coronavirus in the world in its current state. Season 2, again, not as good as season 1, because season 1 had such a cool premise, but it was cool to see a show focus on COVID. And out of all the season 2s we've had so far of an Apple TV show, this one has been good. The others have failed, in my opinion, with the exception of Ted Lasso, which was good. But, comedies, they tend to be okay. It's hard to get that wrong, ignoring what happened with Mythic Quest. But, Apple TV, this is their 2nd season of a show that they've done good with, or it's been almost as good as the first season. But season 1 just seems to be the best one for Apple TV. My 3rd recommendation is The Test, which is on Amazon Prime, original series. It's a documentary that follows the Australian Test cricket team, and when they went over several years ago and they reclaimed the Ashes in England in an away series. It's just a cool insight into what happened in the Australian cricket team following the Sandpaper Gate, where the Australian captain and vice captain both were suspended for a year and lost captaincy roles because of what they did in South Africa, and this is the rebuilding of the team and what happened. And if you're a cricket fan or a sport fan or just an Australian in general, it's hard to not like this and be inspired by what the Australian team did. I'd like to rewatch it now that the Ashes are about to start in 2 days, and maybe given the recent things that have gone on with the Australian cricket team and Tim Payne, it might be worth watching it, and I might see him from a different light, knowing what he's done in his personal life. But as far as a documentary goes, it's done really well. Each episode's really engaging, and it's probably one of the best sport documentaries I've seen, close on par with maybe the Last Dance, but it's presented better than the Last Dance, as in the Last Dance had its issues in terms of order. But this was a very, very good sports documentary. But if you're not a cricket fan, you might find it hard to care about it. But if you are a cricket fan, this is a top-notch documentary that's worth watching. And that's my 3 recommendations.
Well, thank you for helping, Luke. Hope you've enjoyed the monthly recommendation series. See you next year. Like and subscribe. Let the force be with you. Bye-bye.